This is 2OF Entertainment.
Hi guys, and today I've got for you the Kia EV3, the all new brand new compact SUV EV from Kia. As you can see, it hasn't quite got the sleek looks of the EV6, but it has got a kind of mini-me looks of the Kia EV9, that highly acclaimed 7-seater that they came out with. Low entry-level price point on this. That's the big news on this car. Let me give you a few details. I'm on a car launch, on a quick drive event. So what I'll do is I'll put all the details on the screen, but I will tell you that the EV3 basically starts from £32,995. That's for the basic car. That's the entry-level Air trim. Then you get the sporty GT line. This is the GT line. And then you also get the GT line S. Under the bonnet, they all have a 201 brake horsepower electric motor, and that gives it about 105 miles per hour top speed, 0 to 60 in as quick as 7.5 seconds, but it depends on which model you have, so up to about 7.7, etc. like that. You get two battery options, so you get the 58.3 kilowatt hour pack, which is on the Air, and that gives you about 270 miles of range, and then you get the 81.4 kilowatt hour long range battery, and that can give you as much as 375 miles of range, again depending on the model. And the pricing for those models goes up a little bit, so we're talking about £35,995 up to a top end of £43,895 for the fully loaded GT Line S. But you know, this one actually comes with plenty of trim as well. So let's take a look around the car. We'll check it out for practicality. We'll take a look at the boot, interior rear, interior front, and of course we'll take it for a drive.
A brown car guy. Brown car guy.
So just taking a quick look around this car, and as I mentioned, this is the GT line. If it was the Air gets 17-inch alloy wheels, but this one gets 19-inch GT line alloy wheels, and they look quite incredible. I mean, the design on these is quite something. I mean, check that out. But otherwise, I mean, all the cars are pretty well equipped. Even the Air gets the 12-inch interior display, etc., etc. This has a flush door handle, automatic. Actually, they all get that as well. Privacy glass. Okay, we got privacy glass. That's one thing that this one gets. Gets a wireless phone charger, gets LED headlights with a small cube design, as you can see in the front there. So the front headlights are a little bit different. But I do like the chunky, blocky, kind of futuristic look of this car. If you take a look at it, it's almost quite sci-fi, which is what I like. All these sort of jagged lines, these squared off lines, these diagonal lines, they all kind of put you in mind of something, say, from a, I don't know, maybe a Judge Dredd movie or something like that. But a little blocky thing, got quite a stance about it, got quite a presence, and some interesting feature details. Right, let's take a look and see what the boot is like. I've got my key in my hand because I think you need that to open it. There you go, yep. It's not powered, but it's pretty light. That's, I think it's 460 litres of space in there with the seats up. So it's got your tonneau cover, which you can move out of the way there. And then you've got a floor, which I'm guessing is a, oh look, yes, it's quite a lot of room under that floor. And you can put that floor down to a lower level as well to give yourself some more room, because otherwise that wouldn't be a lot of room actually. But with it down, I think you get quite a bit. Then you get pockets on each side, and you get lights, and you get basically a hook. That's pretty good. Let's see what the rear interior space is like. Right, here we are. Let's try and, I think I'm going to make the seats dirty, but the carpet's dirty, but what the hell? Okay, I have to. Okay, it's not too bad actually. So here I am in the back of the EV3, as you can see. And I am about 6'2" with long legs. And as you can see, and this driving seat obviously is set for my driving position. And as you can see, it's a bit tight for me, honestly. But having said that, I would say that for two normal people sitting behind, one in front and the other one behind them, I think it would actually be fine, because it's kind of borderline. although my knees are right up against it, but actually down there's no problem with my shin, and just about enough room to wiggle my feet as well, so that's not too bad. But it's just this bit here, this is a bit tight for me. I'm sitting quite tall, I feel like I'm sitting higher up. I don't know if it's that sort of seating where, what do you call it, palladium seating or something, where the rear is sort of sitting higher than the front, and that does help with claustrophobia because it gives you a view over the heads of the people in front, and there's a big gap here, so that really helps. But you do find yourself sitting, I mean, I feel like I'm sitting in the roof here, because instead of, you know, my head being here, it's actually here, so that's kind of weird. But otherwise, it's quite nice here. Look at this two-tone design that they've got, and let's see what they've got in here. So that is indeed an armrest with 2 cup holders, and over here you've got USB-C's, the smaller ones, in the seats on both sides, here and in here, and then back here you've got vents and you've got pocket, so that's quite good. And of course you've got Isofix child seat anchor points as well. Cool. Not too bad, actually, for a normal regular family. It should be fine. Let's see what it's like in the front. Okay, here we are in the front of the EV3. And actually, you know what? Let me turn it all off. Yeah, so that was, look at that, did you see that? Did you just catch that? So, and even here, even though it's off, it was giving me a display there. So I thought I'll turn it off so that I can then turn it on and you can see what happens here. But I mean, just as it is, look at this. Look at the blocky design that carries through the sort of vertical aspect and quite angular vertical aspect of the design. Switches in the door, door handle, even the door handle, look at the geometry of that shape. And then you've got this area here. This is the canvasy material. This is plastic, but it's kind of soft plastic, kind of aluminium sort of touch, but I think plastic again. Got glove box down here, which is a decent size. You've got the same two-tone treatment with the ET style headrest there that goes through. Got an inscription there. Oh, I think it says GT line, that's what that is. It's GT line, that. So there you go. And then you got this center bit here, which is kind of, it comes out, so it's kind of like, don't know if you can see that, so you can actually use that as a kind of extended armrest if you want. But there isn't a cubby box in here, although there is this thing, so it's kind of weird. Why is that? Why does that do that when there isn't, it's not a lid? But anyway, that you can actually, or maybe that's the only way to move that. Oh yeah, so there you go. So that now moves back. There's some buttons in here, which I'm not sure why there are some buttons in here. But you've got hill descent control, and then parking, it says parking camera and stuff like that. So actually, let me just turn it on, just to show you. Now the button to turn it on is actually on the gear lever, which is actually a stalk on the steering there. And there's the button there. So I'll press that button, so let's see what happens. You see, it all comes to life. That's very Star Trek, actually, that way. Sorry. Live long and prosper, you know I'm a Trekkie. But that's come on. Now that's actually connected to my phone, as you can see, although I had connected it by wire, but it then became wirelessly connected as well. But let's put this down here, and then this button here is for camera, and as you can see there's a camera, so it's not 360, at least not on here. Actually, let me put it into reverse and see if there is a 360. No, it just gives you a reversing camera, so maybe the GT Line S gives you the 360 camera. Put it back into park, and again, so you got this is a blank space. These are vents. Now these are switches. You've got the screen. Let me put it back onto its normal home screen, which is actually that one there, and Apple CarPlay, bit communards. Come on, map and all that, and then you got your display for your climate control here, which is a bit odd because from the steering, actually when you're sitting here, that's what you see. You don't really see much of it, so that's kind of awkwardly positioned, although you do get a good view of the actual instrument display there. But here's the thing, if I can just move the camera back, you got this sort of flat top, flat bottom steering wheel, and let me put it straight for you like that. Okay, so you can see that there are stalks here. There's stalks here. This is for lights and stuff, and then on this side you got wipers, and then obviously you got the your gear shift. You actually twist that to actually select gear. Then you've got controls here, vents, and then more buttons down here, a load of buttons down here, buttons here, buttons here. You've got your paddles here for regen, buttons here. That's your drive mode button down there, and then these are all buttons. So if you press that, that's actually a button. And then search, and then media, and then setup. So these are all buttons, and you can go through the screens. You go back to home, and you've got this screen, and you can go, this is the standard home screen. You got this screen, then you got this screen. Then you've got a volume knob there. Then you've got your hazard button there. Then you've got down here. This is actually quite interesting and actually quite useful. You know that time when sometimes you plug something in and you don't want it to connect. You just want to charge it. So you can actually press that button, and then that just goes to charge. So if you can make that out, that is just charging now. And then you've got another one there, which is only for charging. But if you wanted to then connect it to the infotainment, then you press that one, and then that actually connects it as well. There's your 12-volt power supply. But you also have wireless charging as well. And then you've got cup holders here, which have that kind of, here you go, that out it comes when you need it. And then you've got here. So although you don't get a cubby box, you do get this huge space here with a lot of storage in it as well. So that's quite handy. But now the one thing I will say is that this is a lot to take in. Especially when you first jump into the car. Now, I know there's been a lot of issues with it. Feels like it was designed with the screen and with these blank spaces. And then there's a lot of discussion that's been going on lately about, you know, people wanting buttons, bring back buttons. And even people like Euro NCAP, which do the crash safety testing, have saying that they are going to start marking down cars that don't actually have buttons. So you have buttons. You got a mode button here. You got a temperature control for this side, temperature for this side. You got these buttons here. And then you got all of these buttons on the steering wheel. But it does feel a little bit like somebody loaded up a submachine gun with buttons and then just fired it at the dashboard. And then you've got all these buttons. It's okay. It takes getting used to. So I've actually been already driving this around for a bit. It does take getting used to, but when you first get into it, it's a little bit like, whoa, what is going on here? But other than that, it's okay. Now, some other information whilst I've got you here to give you on this car. Like I said, there's the 3 models. There are monthly payments. They've actually broken it down into monthly payments, as you can see there, starting from as little as £381 per month, which is what you can get on these models here. And then you've got, this is the spec on the cars. So the difference between the cars, they all have the climate control. GT line does have the 360 surround view. So that actually gives you the all-round camera, and it gives you the power tailgate. So that's a power tailgate, blind spot view, sunroof, memory speech, and the 8-speaker Harman Kardon sound system. But even the one on here is okay. I listened to it briefly; it was fine. That's a good level of spec. Now this is interesting. What do they think it rivals? The Volvo XE30, the Cupra Born, and the Volkswagen ID.3. These are the cars that it rivals, and it undercuts the Cupra. It's on par with the Volvo. It's slightly more than the Volkswagen ID.3. So that's the only difference here. And like I said, they expect most sales to be for the GT line, which is this one. The GT line S is 42% and the Air is at 11%. So there you go. I think what we need to do now is take it for a drive. Hey, are you enjoying this video? Then make sure you hit the like button. It's very important. Plus, comment, share, and make sure you're subscribing. Right, so let's give this a go. So you have to turn the handle there. That's the indicator, and let's move on. So it's very nice and toasty at the moment because obviously I've got the climate control on, but I found the buttons for the heated seats are here and here. So got the heated steering wheel as well. So despite the temperature outside being, I think, 6 degrees, yeah, 6 degrees, I'm nice and warm in here, so that really helps. That's a good start. Like I said, I mean, there's a lot going on here. It can be overwhelming. It takes a while to get used to. There's lots of buttons and stuff. Main things you need to know, like mode. So now in sports mode, and actually if you see the colors change on the dashboard, and in each of the mode they actually change, and you get red for sports mode. Interesting thing about the red is that the slash of light on the dashboard then reflects in the mirrors. In this one particularly, sometimes in that one, depending on the angle, but definitely in this one. So now we're in normal, and actually the car is quite settled. I gotta say, it is quite settled actually. And the lights have changed, right? Let's put it into sports mode. Immediately the throttle response picks up, and the car does get a little bit fidgety. Just gets a bit more lively, shall we say. And But we're going to leave it in sports because and the steering is fighting you. Well, I wish I'd figured out how to turn off the steering assist, but hey, we'll fight it. Oh, look at the beautiful view here. So at the moment, I've driven it a bit already actually, and it's still showing me I've dropped to 88% charge. Started a little bit more than that. 266 mile range. With the maximum it's showing you, so the maximum is 388, so I guess if we go urban driving, and you got the pedals here for the regen, and I put it on maximum regen because hey, why not? It's not quite one pedal mode, but it does, I mean, if you lift off, that decelerates quite rapidly. But I do like one pedal mode. I don't know why EV manufacturers have got rid of one pedal modes pretty much after initially that being a bit of a big deal for electric cars. I think maybe for two reasons. A, because it just means people having to relearn how to drive, and maybe people are just not comfortable with that thing. I remember getting into a car with one journalist, and after 10 minutes he had to turn it off because he just couldn't cope with it. And B, because I think that what was happening was that people aren't using the brakes, and then you're getting brake seizure on these cars over time, on EVs in general, that is. And so, you know, by the fact that you don't have the one pedal mode, then you still need to use the brakes. So maybe that's why manufacturers are doing it. But I quite like one pedal mode. Anyway, oh, that seat's getting very toasty. We'll turn the seat heater down a little bit. Otherwise, I'll end up with roasted pumpkins. So very quiet, very serene, very smooth, just as you would expect from an EV. And I feel like I'm sitting a little bit higher in this car, so there is a little bit of movement that you can feel. So definitely you have that sort of SUV-esque feeling, despite the sense that it's a smaller car, but you do sort of get that sense of sitting higher up as you would in a compact SUV. I mean, the brakes are actually quite good. I mean, there's no fuss in this car. There's no drama. It's all very, very easy, very standard. The steering itself is very smooth in its movement. No stickiness or anything like that, except for when obviously you're fighting the lane detection system. But other than that, it's very smooth, very linear. It's sort of consistently weighted, it feels like, and quite relaxing and easy to drive, that's for sure. I mean, you can change the readouts in front of you, so I could just change the trip computer to a compass. That's less numbers, because otherwise there's a lot of information that's in the screen in front of you, and there's a little one where you can see the lanes, you can see the position of the car, but current trip, route, and then when you go back to current trip, you can actually then scroll through as well. You've got tire pressure, how much range you've got since last reset, after recharging, current trip. But then the power bar on the right, so if you do that, it goes right up immediately, which is like sort of like a rev thing, really. It behaves like that. And then the speed bar on the other side, and you do start to see your range dip down. I wonder if I change modes, if it makes any difference. Yeah, so 275 in eco, 266 in normal, and then 258 in sports. So I lost about 8 there. Bonnet sort of slopes out of view, despite the fact that it's got this sort of boxy shape about it. But the bonnet kind of just goes down, and I mean, you can pretty much judge, you know, where the car is, but it's not really a problem. But it's just like the bonnet, you cannot see much of it. Visibility at the back is pretty good. I mean, the window at the rear is a bit slot-like, so that's maybe a little bit of an issue. But the headrests are nicely tucked quite low, so you get pretty good visibility out the back, and I don't think that's too much of an issue. And then the big mirrors on the sides are really good. Looking over your shoulder, it's not too bad either. Some nice sweeping bends here. No engine noise, obviously, or an artificial engine noise, but there's a kind of a whine wee that you get, which you often get with EVs. But yeah, I mean, good response, good turn in. Actually, a little bit too eager there. But I have noticed a little bit of understeer as well, as you'd expect, I guess, from an SUV. But generally, it's pretty responsive, particularly in sports mode. And I have kept it in sports mode, despite the fact that the ride is definitely better in normal mode. But it's tolerable. And also because I like this instant performance that you get. It's not a snap your neck sort of performance. So again, nicely settled, nicely into the corner. Body control is pretty good. Talking of body control, talking of the ride and how it responds, it's kind of like it does that thing where it kind of feels like it's reacting to keep itself stable. So you can just feel it sort of just moving and then sort of adjusting itself simultaneously, and it sort of feels kind of elastic in its responses, if you see what I mean. In terms of the performance, again, getting back to the performance, it does have pretty good performance, but it's not like with some EVs that, you get the neck snapping effect, you get pushed back a little bit, but it's not like, oh my God, it's not that sort of shocking aspect that some EVs present you with, when you hit the right pedal. This is actually quite linear, genuinely quite strong. It just feels like a car that's got a strong load of torque when you need it. That's kind of how it feels. Again, like under load, just pushing it through this corner. You don't feel anything to the steering. There's no sense of feeling whatsoever, but except for the fact that the steering then fights you sometimes when it decides that it's detected a lane. But other than that, and again, I'm still got the full regen on with the paddles, and you do get this the fact that it slows the car down for you as well as soon as you start to lift. Of course, there's lots of beeps and bongs and stuff like that because it's checking out speed signs and reading the speed signs and all this sort of stuff. It's fairly settled, especially in sport mode. The body composure really sort of happens through the corner, almost sort of turns into it, sort of leans into it, almost feels like. It's not really, but it kind of feels like it's doing that a little bit, just in terms of how flat it's trying to keep the body. So you could take corners at some speed in this if you wanted to, but actually you don't necessarily want to. It's not really that sort of car. So there you go. I think another great car from Kia. It may not have quite the appeal of the looks that you get from some of the other cars, or some of its siblings, I should say, in the Kia product lineup, particularly when it comes to EVs, but it's certainly an appealing car, put it that way. And I think at the price range that it's coming in at, for those people wanting to get into an EV and try the experience, and also I think that, despite the fact that there's all these buttons and everything, but fundamentally it's quite straightforward, and once you get used to it, it's relatively familiar. So it's a car that invites actually those people that are thinking of transitioning to EV, but that maybe have been put off by the higher prices so far, and maybe the driving, etc. So I reckon that in that sense it works. Great city car. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Hi guys, I've been writing. This is my first book, a novel, an all-out action thriller, and this one is a collection of 13 stories I've written over the course of 2 decades. The Euless Files and The Quantum Races by BC Guy are out now on Amazon.com.